Hello dear viewers and welcome back to our channel, the home of long-form royal storytelling where we follow each thread until the whole tapestry is revealed. In our last segment we stopped just as the puzzle pieces around Sandringham, a luxury rental listing, and Prince Harry's September return began to align. Now let's widen the lens and give this story the scope it deserves, because what looks at first like a simple property advertisement in the Norfolk countryside may in fact be the quiet stage on which the next and possibly most delicate chapter of Windsor reconciliation could unfold. Sandringham is no ordinary estate. Acquired by Queen Victoria for the then Prince of Wales in 1862, its 20,000 acres hold working farms, pheasant coverts, an apple juice barn, a sawmill that supplies ornate oak panelling for restorations, cottages for staff, and, crucially, a ring-fenced private area invisible even on Ordnance Survey maps. Tourists who visit the public gardens each summer glimpse only 5% of the grounds. Beyond the ha-ha wall stretch miles of carriage tracks where Charles once roared around in an Austin Cambridge as a boy, and where later, in bleak December light, he walked behind the gun at his mother's beloved Boxing Day shoot. The estate is also a financial engine. Its free-range pig herd sells specialty sausages to Fortnum and Mason, its arable acres leased to tenant farmers at commercial rates, and its cottages, formerly tied to estate workers, have increasingly become boutique holiday lets marketed through a glossy website launched in 2021. Enter Appleton House Garden Cottage, the former home of the late Queen's head gardener. 3 bedrooms. 19th century mellow brick facade. A bay window overlooking the walled nursery beds where roses for palace bouquets were once trialled. Wood-burning stove, clawfoot tub, Aga in O'Donnell, Wi-Fi described as adequate for rural bliss. The new weekly tariff, £5 6.23, made headlines because it surpasses peak season rates at some 5-star Scottish castles. Critics on social media quipped that the only flowers guests would afford afterward would be supermarket daffs. But the estate's booking portal reported 9 weeks reserved within 48 hours of launch. Norfolk tourism chiefs cheered, local hoteliers sighed, Republican campaigners accused the king of renting out heritage by the hour. Buckingham Palace declined comment except to say revenue funds ongoing conservation of Sandringham's historic fabric. The commercial angle is interesting, but the timing is electrifying. Prince Harry arrives in London mid-September for the Wellchild Awards, an engagement he has maintained since 2007. In recent years he has adopted a rhythm: fly in, attend the awards, squeeze in a charity board meeting, visit grandmother's grave at Windsor, then leave within 72 hours, rarely bedding down on Crown property because, since 2020, police protection is no longer automatic for him. For that reason he has tended to lodge at Frogmore until eviction and then at discreet private residences secured via friends. Yet Appleton House Garden Cottage could rewrite that pattern. Why? First, proximity. The cottage is inside the highest security perimeter in East Anglia, meaning royalty and specialist protection officers already patrol those lanes. An extra detail for one guest is far easier to arrange than vehicular convoys to off-site hotels. Second, privacy. The public entrance to the holiday cottages lies 2 miles south of Sandringham House. Guests cross a cattle grid, punch a code into a timber gate, and disappear from drones and long-lens paparazzi. Third, symbolism. By staying on the estate, but not in the main house, Harry could signal respect for familial space while still being close enough for face-to-face conversations with his father during quiet afternoon windows between the king's chemo cycles. Could this elegant brick cottage therefore serve as neutral ground, a halfway hut on a frozen diplomatic border? Palace insiders insist no invitation has been issued too early, too many variables. Yet multiple courtiers confirm that the king would welcome a brief Sandringham visit if security and diaries align. Whether Harry wishes the same is less clear. Sources close to the Duke say his primary motive for September is Wellchild first, any family moments second, but they admit the Duke sees emotional logic in meeting his father somewhere restful rather than at frenzied London palaces. Family dynamics complicate the picture. Prince William traditionally hosts the annual September meeting of the Sandringham Shoot Committee, a date that this year falls 2 days after the Wellchild dinner. If Harry were staying on the estate concurrently, you would have the extraordinary possibility of both brothers sleeping under the same 600-year-old oaks for the first time since the Queen's funeral. Would they cross paths? William's allies point to scheduling walls, working breakfast with estate tenants, then a phone briefing with Earthshot Boston team, then off to Wales. But staff know that on a 20,000-acre estate even a dog walk can become an icebreaker. The king's health adds urgency. Though sources insist his latest PET scan showed stable markers, oncologists caution that hormone-sensitive variants can turn aggressive without notice. Charles has woven treatment into his routine: chemo Monday, light paperwork Tuesday, charity reception Wednesday, rest Thursday, but each cycle erodes stamina. Courtiers say he told a former bishop, "Nothing like mortality," to clarify priorities, and that clarity apparently includes settling the rift with his younger son. Friends say he is less fixated on public optics, the TV interview apologies can wait, and more on private father-son warmth while we still have the gift of unhurried conversation, as one confidant paraphrased. Meghan's role is delicate. The Duchess of Sussex is not expected in Britain in September, Archie's preschool year starts in Montecito that week, and Lilibet turns 4 next June without yet meeting many of her UK cousins. That absence may ironically smooth initial steps. Negotiators can focus on Charles-Harry rapport without the louder Sussex-Cambridge media theatre. But long-term, any reconciliation must reckon with Meghan's profound mistrust of palace staff she alleges failed to protect her. Appleton House would thus function as a test environment. If Harry feels safe, if diaries synchronize effortlessly, if conversation flows, then a future family stay, Meghan, children, perhaps even a Christmas at Sandringham one day, becomes thinkable. Royal finances swirl in the background. Charles has vowed to streamline the Duchy of Lancaster portfolio, sell some farmland to local tenants at discounted rates, and convert empty grace and favour houses into revenue-earning rentals. The Appleton listing is the first to hit the open market since his accession. Critics cry hypocrisy, profiting while preaching duty. Defenders retort that the monarchy must self-fund more in an era of lean public budgets. The economic math is stark. The sovereign grant is pegged to Crown estate profits at 12%, offshore wind farms have spiked those profits, but Charles requested the extra money be redirected to the Treasury. That leaves the private Sandringham estate to shoulder more of its own heritage upkeep. £5 6.23 per week rent sounds steep until you consider that re-roofing the 1870 stable block cost £1.2 million last year alone. Beyond royalty, Appleton House has catalysed Norfolk's tourist board. They have already commissioned a new royal retreat trail linking local farm shops, birdwatch hides, and the estate's own museum. Villagers in nearby Dersingham hope for a bump in pub lunches. Hoteliers fret about losing high-spend clientele to palace competition. But the bigger tourism play is intangible. Hosting Prince Harry, even invisibly behind high hedges, would thrust Sandringham back into global headlines not just as a Yuletide postcard but as the cradle of reconciliation. That publicity, officials whisper, could be worth more than 1,000 holiday-let weeks. So where does this leave us? 3 scenarios dominate palace chatter. No royal stay. Harry opts for a private London residence. Appleton House fills with wealthy Americans keen to boast of sleeping in the Queen's gardener's bed. Renewed talks proceed via Zoom, slower but safer. Short estate stopover. Harry books Appleton for 3 nights, meets Charles twice, once in the mansion's white drawing room, once on a Land Rover spin through the Arboretum. William and Harry avoid each other, but civil messages are exchanged via valet. Outcome: cautious progress, public kept in the dark. Full Sandringham summit. William adjusts diary, drives from Anmer Hall, Meghan joins by video for part of one session. Brothers walk to St. Mary Magdalene Churchyard, where their mother's Christmas footsteps echo in memory. A joint statement follows: "We continue private conversations as a family." Pessimists call it optics, optimists call it the first thaw since 2019. Which scenario plays out depends on logistics, egos, security, and, above all, emotional readiness. But one fact stands: King Charles has placed a vacant gardener's cottage at the center of a chessboard where rent, reconciliation, and royal reputation intersect. Sometimes history turns on coronations, sometimes it turns on a humble brick gable offered to the right guest at precisely the right moment. What do you think? Is the cottage listing merely smart estate management or a silent olive branch to a wandering son? Could Sandringham's quiet lanes witness the first father-son hug of the post-Megxit era?